everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to do another 2 blocks in this cute design by Laurie Kent. It's called Take Me to the Beach Bench Pillow. I have a lot of new subscribers on the channel, so welcome aboard. I am happy you're here. And you may be coming in on this going, hey, wait a minute. I want to learn how to make this project. I will have links in the description below to the beginning videos in this series, so you can go and watch those where I explain everything on the supplies you need, where to get the designs, and I'll walk you through the previous blocks. Today, we're going to work on blocks number 10 and 11 in this series. So if you're ready to get started, go ahead and grab your hoop, grab a piece of polynomial mesh stabilizer, and let's go over to the machine and let's get started. Okay, we are at the machine and ready to get started. Just FYI, today we're going to be doing blocks 10 and 11. So if you look at your instructions, you want to go to page 4. It'll be at the top. We're doing blocks 10 and 11. And both of them are fairly small. They're going to be actually doable in a 4x4 hoop. I'm using my 5x7 hoop because it's a little easier for you to see the stitches and what the machine is doing on a larger hoop. But you can definitely use your 4x4 hoop for both of the blocks today. Okay, so I've got a piece of my polynomial mesh stabilizer in my hoop. I'm checking my bobbin thread, make sure I've got plenty of thread down there, and we do. So I'm going to load the hoop on the machine. And let's go to the screen and let's add the design that we're looking for. And just for your information, I have a Brother Dream machine. So if you have something similar, you can follow along on. So we're going to go to Embroidery. We're going to go to the flash drive. And I have all my files in the Take Me to the Beach folder. And now we're looking for block 10. And block 10 is a filler block. So you can look right here. It's going to be called FB10, filler block 10. That's the one we're looking for. That's going to be a very nice little stipple there. So we're going to click set. We don't need to move it or do anything to it. So we're going to click Embroidery. This should be a fairly easy block. You guys got this. You're getting more and more experience as we go along. So let's go back to the hoop cam. And now, if you're using the kit, you get your fabric out for block number 10. This is what it is. And we need to get our thread out as well. Okay, and it's saying it's Papaya 70176. And I don't have a 70176. So I believe this is a typo. I'm going to use the Papaya 70178. That matches that fabric very nicely. I think that's a typo in the instructions, so just change it. And if you have 70178, if you have the thread set by Glide, then you can go ahead and use that one. That'll match perfectly. We're going to do the same thing that we've always done. We're going to stitch out a placement line. We're going to tack down some batting, and then we're going to tack down the fabric, and then we're going to do the stippling. Those are the steps we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load my Papaya thread in the top of the machine. We can use this Papaya thread for all of the steps because you're not going to see it for the placement line or the batting. You'll see it on top of the fabric, but the fabric matches that color. And then, of course, the stippling. Now, I threaded my needle, but I have a loop, so you know my rules. Get that loop out because that loop will wrap itself around and will break a needle in a second. Ask me how I know. It's happened to me several times. Okay, so let's go ahead and stitch out the placement line where we're going to put the batting. Here we go. Okay, so that's the placement line. So go ahead and get your batting out. I'm using my big piece of batting that I'm kind of wiggling pieces out of here. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to lay it down. You can pre-cut your batting into these little squares, but there was a lot of them. And I have these nice pieces of batting that I thought would be perfect. So that's what I'm doing. So you can either tape your batting down or hold it like I do. And let's put the foot down and let's tack down this batting. Okay, so now take the hoop off your machine, and I want you to very carefully trim around the outside of this and trim off all of this excess batting, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so now before I put the hoop completely on, I am going to now lay the fabric on top of that, and I can just really feel with my fingers the batting. The batting's right there, and the batting's right there. So we are in perfect position. And I'm going to put the rest of the hoop back on. Let's put the foot down. Let's tack down the fabric. You got this. Isn't that great? Okay, so now let's do the fun part, the stippling. This is a 3-minute stitch out, and you don't have to change your thread. Remember, you still have the papaya colored thread up at the top. So let's start this. Enjoy. You got this. My machine picked up some of that fuzz from the batting. Look at that. Okay. We'll pick that away. That didn't do any harm, so we're good. That looks nice. Let's take that off the machine. Yes, it looks very nice. Okay, so now take this off the hoop. Put a new piece of polynotional mesh stabilizer into your hoop, and I'll meet you back here because now we're going to do block number 11. Okay, we're back at the machine with your new piece of stabilizer, then polynotional mesh, and the hoop. Now let's go to the screen cam and let's switch the design to the design we need for block number 11. Okay, so this says it's finished embroidery, and I'm going to click OK. So now I'm going to click the home button. I'm going to delete the selected pattern out of memory. Go back to embroidery. Going to go back to the flash drive. Back to the Take Me to the Beach folder. And now I'm looking for block 11, which is going to be the sandcastle. So it's way down here, so I'm going to move down. And there it is. So let's click on that sandcastle. That's going to be fun to make. So let's click Set. We don't need to move it or do anything to it, so we're going to just click Embroidery. Okay, so we are ready to go. Let's go back to the hoop cam. We've got it loaded. The fabric that you're looking for in your kit is this piece right here. This is block number 11. And we want to pull the blue thread out. Isn't that pretty? If you have the glide set from Laurie Kent Designs, the thread color number is 92995. That's gorgeous. So I'm going to put this thread in the top of the machine, and we can use this for the first couple steps, just like we did the last block. So let me put this thread up on top, and then we're going to stitch the placement line for the batting. Now you guys are getting the hang of this. You're doing really well. And isn't this becoming more and more familiar as we do each of these blocks? Oops. Take the papaya thread out from the last block. Yeah, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with this process. And then you become a pro at it, right? Right. Okay, what do we do when we have a loop? We get that loop out. Don't want loops breaking our needle. Okay, so let's go ahead and stitch the placement line for the batting. Foot down, and here we go. Okay, so in front of the camera, because my big piece of batting. Sorry about that there. I want to see if I can use this little piece right here to cover this, and I think it will. I want to take the hoop off just because I can't really see the top of it, and I want to make sure it's going to cover it and not miss. It's going to be a little close, but I think I can do it. Okay, so let me put the hoop back on. And then I'm going to tack it down, lay it back out, and it's just going to be a tight fit, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. All right, so if it misses a little bit, it's not that big of a deal because it's going to get tacked down when we do the fabric anyway, but I want to make sure it's as good as I can get it. All right, so here we go. Let's tack down the batting. That worked. Okay, so take the hoop off your machine. And I missed that little, actually the corner there, not a big deal. Like I said, it can miss a part of it. It'll get tacked down again when we do the fabric, but you want to try to get as much as you can. So we did that pretty well. I am happy with that. So let's go ahead and take this over to the table and trim away the excess batting, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, we've got the batting trimmed up. Now we're going to place the fabric down. And let's see, do we want the fabric go? I like it going sideways. I was going to say you could have the fabric going up and then your lines are going up, but I think I'm going to have mine going sideways. So it kind of looks like water ripples. And then just make sure you've got the covering the batting. Remember, you can feel the edge of the batting on both sides, top and bottom as well, to make sure that you are fully covered. And then let's go ahead and tack down the fabric. Same color thread up on top, the turquoise. Okay, here we go. Nice. Okay, you know what the next step is. Yes, you do. We're going to do the stippling. So same color thread up on top. This is a 6-minute stitch out. Put the foot down and let's stitch out the quilting. Very nice. Okay, so now we're going to switch colors of thread up at the top of your machine. We're taking out that blue, and now we're going to put in papaya, and they list on the instructions, this is step 5, 70175. Again, I don't have that papaya. This is the one I have that's marked papaya, 70178. So I'm going to put that thread in the top of the machine. I think it's just a typo. So 70178 is the one I'm putting in up on top. And I'll make sure I take the other thread out first. I do that every once in a while. I say, ooh, we're going to have double threads at the bottom. Be multicolored flag is what it's going to be. All right, so we are ready to stitch the flag. Get that loop out. There we go. So let's put our foot down and stitch out the flag. This is just a 1-minute stitch out. Here we go. That wasn't even a minute. Okay, papaya thread comes out of the machine. And what color we're going to put in next? We're going to put in bark, which is 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, a very nice brown. We're going to put that in the top of our machine. And then we're going to stitch out the flagpole. Okay. All right, it's a 1-minute stitch out, so let's stitch out the flagpole. Here we go. It did not like that at all. So we're going to put the foot up. This is what we're going to do. We're going to trim that thread, put that back up. Now, when it makes a noise like that, you start over. You pull down below, and your bobbin thread is still going to be there. And let me show you what the machine started doing. Yes, it was not a happy machine at that point. So I'm going to take all that off because we just started. Okay. I'm a little low on bobbin thread. So let's swap that out for a new or fairly new bobbin thread. That could have been part of the problem, is it wasn't picking up the bobbin thread because the thread on the bottom was all brown. So it wasn't picking that up. And then I cut the brown thread up on top. I pull this through. And then I rethread the top machine. It's basically you start over. When there's something that's that loud and clunky and scary. You don't want to damage your machine. You just rethread all of it. Start with the bobbin, redo that, then come up here and then rethread the machine and give everything a fresh start, like so. Okay. Then I'm going to put the hoop back. But then you're like, well, wait a minute. How do we reset where we need to be? So let's go to the screen cam and let me show you what we're going to do. Because we need to start this stitch all over again. So down here, there's a plus and minus key. I'm going to click on that. It shows this, but we're actually in that stitch already. So I'm going to back up one to the flag, and I'm going to go forward to this stitch. And now we're at the very beginning. You could have done the negative and gone back as well, but I find just going back to the previous stitch and going forward sets you at the very beginning, which is where you need to be. So we are good. It's just easier. And now we're back to the hoop cam, and let's try this again, shall we? Foot down, and let's go. Much better. So now we're going to put the Apricot Blush 20474, oops, in the top of the machine. And I always hang out and watch my machine stitch out. It's just a habit I have. I don't tend to leave it. Some people do, and that's fine. But I tend to stay with the machine because if something goes wrong, I can hear it and hit the stop button super fast. But if I'm across the room in the kitchen, I can't get to it that fast. And I don't want anything to happen to my baby here. It's my beautiful little baby machine. So I tend just to hang out and enjoy the stitch out. I find it very relaxing. Takes the stress of the day away. So here we go. You ready to stitch out the sandcastle? Foot down. You've got the blush thread up at the top of the machine. And let's go. Isn't that fun? Okay, we are ready for the next step. I'm going to take that blush thread off the top of the machine. And I'm going to come in and we're going to put the bark back in, the 24635, the brown, so we can do the windows and the door. No loop. Okay, foot down and let's stitch out. It's only about, well, it says about a minute, so it's a quick stitch out. Here we go. It is starting to look like a sandcastle now. Isn't that cool? All right, so what we're going to do is going to do one more change of thread up on top. And now we're going to be using what's called Strawberry Blonde. There's no number on it, but if you have the set, it's number 50712. It's called Strawberry Blonde. I'm going to put this at the top of the machine, and it's going to give the sandcastle kind of a little bit more of a contrast color. So it'll have two colors of sand on it. It'll look really cool. All right, so load the thread. And are you ready to stitch this out? It is a 5-minute stitch out, so sit back and enjoy. Here we go. And we're done. We did it. Okay, so isn't that fun? So let's take this block here, which is block number 11, as well as block 10, which we just finished, and let's take them over to the table and let's finish up these two blocks. Okay, we are at the table and we have the two blocks that we just finished up. So now all we have to do is trim these up and they will be complete. So I'm going to get that one out of the way. And I'm going to work on block number 10 first. And what I want to look at is I want to look for these stitch lines that are along the outside edge. And that's going to be the point that we're going to measure from. Okay, so this is block number 10. and it's going to measure 3.5 by 2.5 inches. So what we want to do is we want to identify that outer stitch line, and then we want to trim 1/4 of an inch away from that stitch line. So let's just start with this stitch line here on the right side. I'm going to put the ruler up against it, level it up, and then I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch past that. And you should be able to see that stitch line through the ruler. Okay, so again, line it up, go 1/4 of an inch past that. So my little 1/4 inch mark is on there, and we're going to go ahead and use your rotary cutter and trim the block. Okay, so you can see that, if you can see there, there's the stitch line, and I'm 1/4 of an inch away from that. Okay, so we're going to turn it over on the other side, and to make sure that we've done this right, we're going to go ahead and measure it out. So this is going to be 3.5 inches. Yep, by the time I get through cutting it, 1/4 inch away from that line, it's going to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and find that stitch line again, go 1/4 of an inch, and sometimes it's hard to see on the hash marks, so move the ruler to where you can see through it and get that 1/4 inch. Okay, so there we are. Go ahead and trim it with your rotary cutter, and then you measure it. There we go, and we're right at 3.5 inches, so we're good on that side. So now we're going to turn it the other direction, and this is going to be 2.5 inches across. Again, 1/4 inch just past that outer stitch line. So we go 1/4 inch, and again, move your ruler so that you can see through and get those hash marks in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit again right there. Okay, and then trim that up. And then you can also know, again, 2.5 inches, 1, 2. I'm going with my mat as well because I should be at 2.5. 1, 2.5. And is that 1/4 inch? Yes, it is. That looks good. Let's trim that up. Okay, we've got the first block done. Now let's trim up the sandcastle block. This one is going to be 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches square when we're all done. So again, we're going to look for the same thing, find that outer stitch line, and now we're going to go 1/4 of an inch to the outside of that. 1/4 inch right there, and trim it up. And then we're going to go ahead and line it up on, use the mat as well too, because you know this one's going to be 3.5 inches. So if I line it up using the mat, then I can double check my ruler, and sure enough, I am right on that 1/4 of an inch past the stitch line. So you have 2 tools to check. I'm an accountant as well, so I do the gotta double check rule. So measure once, measure twice, check a third time, and then cut. Because you can never be too careful. You don't want to have to redo these blocks. Okay, 1/4 inch past the stitch line. We trim that up. Flip it around, use your mat. This should be 3.5 inches. And if that is the case, am I on the 1/4 inch past? I sure am. Perfect. All right, just get that mess out of the way. Cool, so you have now completed blocks 10 and 11 of Laurie Ken's Take Me to the Beach bench pillow project. Isn't that cute? All right, so I hope you enjoyed making these 2 blocks as much as I did. So I will see you here again next time on Jolly Molly TV, where we'll work on the next 2 blocks in this project. Until then, happy stitching. Bye-bye.